Awesome, ladies and gentlemen. We are back in the warm down pool. Dan Flack, Eric Skelly coming to you live, or as live as we can be this day and age. I don't know how live I am, Dan. I'm moving a little slower every morning, and I hear a pop, and it just reminds me of how much I treated my body like an amusement park back in the day. But we're back on the air, and hopefully doing this a little more regularly. We were just talking before we came on the air that we got some great guests lined up. We just got to get them locked down for a time and talk all things swimming as we get ready for this this championship season long course wise.
Yes, it's coming up. How's everybody doing? Hope you all are doing well. We're excited to talk a little bit of swimming today. And what do you know? We're going to be starting off our topic with another world record. And then we're going to talk about the supersuits. And the irony is, back in the supersuit eras, it started to become, another world record. Gee, another world record. And
another one. And another one.
What suit or how many suits people were wearing as opposed to how they actually did the swim. So,
yeah.
It comes around, goes around. It's very interesting.
We begin with, obviously, we talked on last week's show about Gretchen Walsh and Kate Douglas playing hot potato with the 50 free world record for the women. And then Summer McIntosh definitely says, hold my Canadian beer, and throws down the monster 200 butterfly. I think we all knew this was coming. I think it was after last summer when she just missed it by, I think, 0.18 or something like that. She was right on it. You could see her visible frustration with not getting it. Canadian trials going on right now in Montreal. And with that, it put her in a situation where 200 fly was pretty much the first event. So she got to swim it fresh. She didn't have the 400 IM or anything sitting in front of it. And if you look at the splits and how they broke down, she was out a little slower than the previous world record, which again was set in 2009 at the World Championships, where there was something ridiculous back in 2009 when it was 33 world records in the span of the World Championships. And it was like, oh yeah, another one, because Mary DeSenza from the United States broke the world record in the two fly, and then it was broken again by the Chinese swimmer in the championship final. But McIntosh out a little bit slower, second 50 faster than the existing record. She was out in 52 or 58.2. World record was 58.08 to take out. Third 50, Summer McIntosh really put the hammer down. Ended up going, was it 31.52 compared to a 32.112. And as a result, was under 2-minute pace at that point. But this is where, and we'll talk about the supersuits later as you brought it up, this is where the difference between the suit and not having the suit was. McIntosh closed with a 31.92, great closing speed. The old world record was a 31.61 after going a 32.1. So we know the advantage those suits had. But the last female supersuited record is now off the books. And that just leaves, if I'm not mistaken, we've got the men's 800 freestyle, and then Paul Biederman's 200 freestyle record are now the last of the men's supersuited records, long course. I think all of the short course have been broken to this point. On the women's side, Gretchen Walsh did it, and Kate Douglas pretty much obliterated what they could. And I think Pallister was another one that did the damage there. But incredible performance. People are starting to make the comparisons. Is this the female Michael Phelps? You look at her versatility. Now she's up to 4 world records, both IMs. 200 fly and the long course 400 freestyle, which she took last summer, I think, at the World Championships. Great 200 freestyle. I think 153 long course is her PR there. But are we talking about the female Michael Phelps at this point now, Dan?
I definitely believe we are. It sure does seem familiar, right?
Yes, very much so.
And I'm sure she's done some familiar sets and familiar training relative to what Michael used to do back in the day. This was such a good swim. If you really watch it, and what I was thoroughly impressed with was, so many times in a big swim or in a great, especially a 200 fly or a 200 breast, sometimes the stroke count gets out of whack at the very end as the fatigue sets in. It's easy to feel awesome at 110, 120 meters in the race, but things can certainly change, and they don't really change that much. I mean, Summer was 21 strokes on the first 50, 23 on the second, 24 on the third, and 25 on the last. And that kind of consistency was what allowed her to have a time that surpassed the Japanese girls on the last, 50 and brought that world record home. It's a shame, she's become ill and has dropped out of the meet, which is a bummer, but, we're all human, stuff happens. But she's pre-qualified for Pan Pacs, and, that should be certainly exciting because she can pretty much swim whatever she wants there, depending on the schedule. So I think it's gonna be just one exciting meet, Pan Pacs, and potentially a further onslaught of world records, especially on the female side. Uh, but she's a
Yeah.
special talent and certainly very driven and kind of knows what she wants to do, which is very helpful on it. I think it's real important to when comparing it to that supersuited era. I'm just so glad that just about all those records are gone. I coached knee deep in it, and it was fun, but it was weird during
Mhm.
that era because I quickly started asking, "Well, is this fast? Is that good? I know it's fast that we went without a suit, but is that good?" I was starting to bring that up, but you did a lot of head shaking when when you take the split and look down and be like, "Holy smokes, I've never seen that child do that before."
Mhm.
Excuse me, time-wise, so, the supersuit era was a very, very interesting time. It was the evolution of when the internet was loud and proud and you could really track down meet results, and,
Mhm.
boy, you had to keep your head on a swivel thinking, "Wow, we just broke some record," and be like, whoops, 4 other people already broke it this weekend at a different meet,
Right.
or we or, "Wow, you're gonna be ranked such and such probably in the country," and like, "No, you're not." The times really changed
Yeah.
during that time frame. I still to this day, I knew that stuff was different when I might have told this story before, but, I had a boy who was trying to make the Olympic trials in the 100-meter backstroke, a high school guy, and he was awesome for 90 meters, and then the struggle got real always, whether training-wise it should have or not, it always got real that last 10 meters. And not only did the struggle not get real that last 10 meters for him, it looked like somebody was pulling him in with a stretch cord, blowing through the wall. And I'm like, at the finish, and I'm like, okay, we got a whole new ball game here, folks. So yeah, wild stuff, but down goes another supersuited record, and I think that's great.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that really kind of got my attention with Summer, and obviously she made the change to go train with Bob Bowman down at the University of Texas with Longhorn Aquatic. Bob and Michael Phelps has talked about this numerous times, especially in his lead up into 2016. He kind of up to 2008, you never really heard about what kind of training they were doing. Even those of us in the coaching world really did not know what Michael was doing on a near daily basis. You got snippets, but you didn't get much. But leading into 2016, because there was more of a talk of that was when Brent Rushall had introduced USRPT. So there was a lot of conversations about that type of training and how with Phelps and all that. And you started to hear more about what Michael was doing with Bob. And he does a lot of stroke count and time, stroke count and time. So doing 50 meters fly, again, you talked about it. Was it 20, 23, 24, 25 strokes per 25? That's classic Bob Bowman. Knowing what your stroke count is, being able to maintain good body position. She did. I mean, it's 200 fly long course. You're going to tighten up at the end. I don't care who you are. We watched Michael Phelps tighten up. We watched Leon Marchand tighten up. Me, like, I don't care who you are. You're going to hurt at the end. Leclos, doesn't matter. But she had good hip and shoulder position throughout the course of the swim. And I think that is the more critical portion of this. It's not just about the stroke point of it. It's what her body position is in the water. Her hips were still getting clear. There was even press between the chest and the shoulders. She had good alignment. That was a connected stroke from start to finish. If anything, she might have looked a little rushed on the third 50, probably sensing that a little bit of urgency that I've got to get on it here. And then she looked like she got into a little bit better rhythm, even though it was one stroke less. That could be attributed to one less or two less dolphin kicks off the turn. Who knows? But I think she did an excellent job of maintaining body position, breathing pattern. Her timing on the stroke was incredibly efficient. I've watched the video probably 2 or 3 times now. My shoulders hurt watching it because I remember those days of doing long course 200 butterfly and hard pass. But I think that is going to be the standard by which we're going to be seeing a lot of other swimmers be compared to with when it comes to swimming that event in that distance in that pool. It's not like short course meters 200 fly where you can hide with your underwaters. That can be done. If there's any criticism of her race, it's probably her back end underwaters. But that's, again, I'm not going to criticize her. I'm not going to say there was anything negative on that swim. I think it was just an incredibly impressive swim. It's definitely one that we know she's wanted for a while. She dropped an F-bomb right on live television when she missed it last summer. She knew it, and it was just like the whole world got to see that. And you're like, okay, she's human. So we know that how much that meant to her. But man, I got posed the question, though. I had a couple coaches text me, and you may have been asked it as well. Can she break 2 minutes in the 200 butterfly? Are we getting to that point where we have to ask that question? And Dan, I'm going to pose it to you. Do you think? I mean, she was 129.7 at the 150. Do you think she can break 2 minutes in the two fly by 2028 or at the games in 2028?
That's going to be tough, in my opinion, because that's a whole different tax bracket
Yes.
for anybody. But it all depends on the preparation, how that preparation goes, and how the meat flow goes for her. She's in a good spot where she can pretty much swim through the trials and make the teams. That's a big help, I believe, to really fully peak for the Olympics. But the Olympics is tough. Those Olympic rings have jumped on many a great swimmer's back at some point in their race and weighed them down time-wise a little bit. So we'll see. I don't put anything past her because she's a stud. I mean, she's pretty amazing and pretty versatile. Obviously, the 400 IM and the 400 free training that she does certainly helps the 200 fly. So we'll see. But that's, we're not talking tenths here. We're now talking, seconds
Yes.
to get under. But what the hell? Why not make a run for it? I'd love to see it. My mind would be blown. That's for sure. But she's a great competitor and has a great group to train with, great coach. So if anybody's going to do it, she's going to do it. Or maybe the enhanced games will pay her a bunch of money and she'll throw on 6 supersuits and see if she does that. No, I'm just kidding.
You're just poking the bear with that one.
I like, sometimes bears need to be poked.
Exactly. I'm going to be the devil's advocate. I don't think she can do it. And I'm not saying that I'm saying she can't do it for all the reasons you already suggested. And that is sub 2 minutes that's a different tax bracket. There's guys, talented butterflyers, male, man, they struggle breaking 2 minutes. And I think that might be a little more psychological. Obviously, men are built different than women with the race. Here's why I don't think she's going to be able to do it is she's got to improve her takeout speed significantly. We're talking, if she's not out in comfortably in 57.2, 57.3.
Easy. It's got to be
Yeah,
easy.
easily. And then she still has to close it faster than she closed this race. That is just, that's just mind blowing. And you think of the number of women right now who can go 57 in the 100 fly. It's more than it was, but it's not. And those are full bore out Mach 1. Gretchen Walsh is a different tax bracket again. But you look at it, I mean, 56 is considered elite now, minus Gretchen. So I don't, man, I'd love to see it. I'd eat my shoes 100%. I'd eat a fin. I don't care to see it, but I don't know that it can be done by 2028. But as I tell my athletes all the time, I have no problem in being wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, and I'm all for it. I think that she is a generational talent. I think one of the things that, and I haven't, maybe you've seen it, but I know it's out there, what the calendar looks like in terms of where the 200 fly falls in the entire Olympic calendar. Now that we've added the 50s of stroke, that's disrupting some things. I wish they would have gotten rid of the semifinals for the 200s of stroke, but it is what it is. That stretches things out a little bit more now that you're adding. No, it doesn't help anything at all. No, not at all. And I don't know. I would love to see it. I don't know that she's going to be the one that does it, but I think she's setting a bar significantly higher for a lot more of the 200 flyers of the world. And that's a good thing. And like we talked about with the supersuit and the great segue, we're going to go from there to the supersuits. But one of the things that I think the supersuit era did, and we're coming up on 20 years that they were first released, 2007, I just did a quick search, is when the first laser was on the market. It was late 2007, so we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. And then they were available for the Olympics, and then Blue 70 and Jacked, and Tier had their version of the suit. The only one that jumped out of the arena hadn't really come back to the U.S. market yet. They didn't have one yet. And Nike bailed out of competitive swimming. They had a great tech suit, but they jumped out. They weren't making the Supersuit, and they came back a little bit into the regular tech suit market for a few years after that. But I think what we saw in the post-suit era was you saw a lot of coaches, they had new goals. They knew to break records. And a lot of our colleges, the last school I was just at, they still have 2 Supersuit records on the books. Actually, I think they only have one now. We broke 2 of them this year, thank goodness. But we still have one on the books that hadn't been broken yet. And there are a lot of schools that still, if you look 08, 09, they're still there. And I think it forced us to rethink how we train. And we've talked about this at length, the efficiency in which training has gotten in the last 20 years. I think back to when I was in college and how I trained. And I've had Bill Dorincott on the show from Ohio State. Bill was my first college coach. How he trained at me at Ashland University in 1993, 94 is not how he's training athletes at Ohio State in 2026. I think the Supersuit kind of forced us. And I remember talking to people, those records are never going down. They're never going to get broken. It's going to take 10 years. I think the first one went down within a year. I think Lotke was the first one who did it. And I don't know. I think we've got an opportunity to see swimmers evolve from that era. Obviously, they've been banned since 2009. Those went off the market as quickly as they could. FINA reeled that in. But I think swimming was at the forefront of the technology boom when it came to athletic apparel, because if you look at where track and field is at right now, man, the running shoes and the technology that's coming out of that. I was talking with an athletic director who was a former swim coach, a friend of mine, Eddie Shepard at Biola University. Eddie was talking about how he's got to pay for these $500 track spikes for his runners. And he's just laughing because he went through it. He, as a swim coach, he went through the Supersuit era. So he's sitting there just laughing. He's like, the track coaches are freaking out with the budgets because they're buying these suits. He's like, we had to do the exact same thing back in 09. So could you imagine what a Supersuit would cost now? It was $500 back then.
Wouldn't be cheap. It would not be
$1,000
cheap.
minimum.
Save your money, kids.
Could you imagine trying to outfit an entire college program? I don't care if you're Auburn or you're Virginia. $1,000 suit for the women, and you've got a roster of 36 you got to outfit. That's more than my entire. You have to. When I was at the University of Nevada, our head coach was like, he was fighting the athletic department, fighting them for the money to get blue 70s for our girls. It was like, we are literally going to walk into this completely outgunned. And he was right. If we hadn't had them, we wouldn't have won in 08 for conference. There's no way. Absolutely not. And by the time 09 rolled around, the World Championships had already happened and the NCAA and everybody had already banned the suits. So we got lucky on that one, but it was only like a year that we really had to deal with it. But I think the supersuited era, just like anything that we've gone through, COVID was another one we've talked about. I remember in 1992 was and through 94, 95 was the Chinese drug scandal. We came out better on the other end for all of these things. And I think I personally would love to see the supersuits back. I really would. I know I couldn't afford them with my college, unfortunately, but it would be a lot of fun to see what people can do. And I think I've already advocated once already to let Gretchen Walsh suit up one time in a practice and throw a timing system on for her. But I don't know. I loved him because you got to see some crazy speed. But I do remember this, and it's been 15, 16, 17, 18 years since I had to deal with it. I remember an athlete. She was in the mile, good miler, really good, right around the 17-minute mark, female miler, and she beat her personal best by 13 seconds. And I remember she got out. I was so happy for her. I'm just one of my athletes. And I remember asking her, man, how's that feel? You got to be so happy. You've been stuck on that best time for 3 years. She goes, was it me or was it the suit? That hurt. Because I think it was her.
That's the truth, though.
It's the truth, though. You're right.
100%, that's the truth.
And nothing exemplified it more, but think about the number of great supersuited athletes, American or in the world, doesn't matter, that once you took those suits away, they came back to the pack. And the most notorious, and I don't want to pick on him, but it was Paul Biederman, the former world record holder in the 400 and the current record holder in the 200. He came back to the pack. I know a lot of people that still want to throw an asterisk on all those records. Can't do it.
That's
Shouldn't
the
do
way it
it.
was. You were playing
And
by
then
that was the rules of the game. So you weren't cheating, you were playing by the rules of the game.
I
But
brought it up in
I always found it incredibly funny during that era that all of a sudden you go to a swim meet and dudes and girls are jacked because everybody said, forget this core stuff and the more traditional swimmer, dry land or land training, however you want to say it. You know, you got a blue 70, that suit's gonna hold you up. You're not gonna sink at the end, so let's just get as physically strong as we possibly can. And all of a sudden, especially on the guys' side, they look like tight ends all of a sudden. I mean,
yeah,
they're just, guys are just jacked.
man.
And I found it funny that I kind of vividly remember it was about 18 months after the super suits went away where I started looking around and going like, "Yep, looks like a swim meet again." Everybody looks like the best swimmers. They get 70 million abs. They
Hmm.
got and these teeny little waists, and they're not huge. They got their lats are huge. But aside from that, the physical presence has shrunk because those suits will hold you up. You know, there's a
Just
reason
remember,
why the very last meet, one of them that I went to was out at Seattle at Federal Way. It was the U.S. Open, I believe, because I don't think it was called Nationals. I think it was the U.S. Open, and there was literally the Jagged guys set up shop on deck, and there was a line around the pool and out the door to buy those suits, and you can only use them for one more meet. This was it. So it was wild times back then, wild times. But I liked them in that it made you think because all of a sudden now you've got this new toy, this new stimulus. How are we going to like everything else? How are we going to maximize it? So I used to chastise coaches all the time, be like, pay attention, watch what's going on in the water, because that's going to help you evolve.
mm,
Sure, the kids are swimming faster, etc., but watch how it's changing their strokes. Watch how people can be super aggressive at the beginning of a swim where they really couldn't before. Watch, be aware of it, watch that change. One thing I didn't like was the anxiety that it put on the kids, especially the very beginning of them. Like, oh my God, how do I fit into this thing? And what do I do if it rips? And you use nail polish or whatever on the blue 70s to close
mhm.
the holes and stuff. That extra stress. So that was a new thing that you had to practice and factor into your warm up of okay, planning for dealing with your suit, dealing with fitting everybody in the swim meet in a locker room to change into the in and out of those things. Yeah, wild times. That was wild stuff.
I remember there were two. You brought up a great point with people just being jacked. There is no better image of that than Alain Bernard standing behind the blocks for the 4x100 freestyle relay at the Olympics and looking like he could start on the defensive. Him and Miles Garrett could be standing next to each other and there'd be no imperceivable difference, just shredded he was. But the image that always, and you brought it up too, with being prepared and the anxiety that came with that, I don't remember the name of the young lady, and I wouldn't call her out because it's been 18 years later or something like that. It was European Championships. She was wearing one of the Jack suits. She's up in the finals. I think it was the 400 at Euros in 2009 or 2008, something like that. And the suit blew out in the back. And you didn't have time to change into a new suit. So there were only 7 that went off the blocks because she couldn't swim. And just the media outlets had a picture of her just sitting behind the blocks. You see the suits rip right up the back, right along the zipper, and just the look on her face. That was what she was dreaming about, was to be in that final, was to represent her country in a world champ or in a European championships. And that was taken from her because the suit malfunctioned.
Then you had kids questioning, "Hey, so is my suit running out of juice here? Do I need to
Oh,
get
yeah.
another one? Do I need to get another one? Hey, coach, how many do we get from our sponsor?" You like just wear the thing, just execute your
Yep.
plan. Get a good
And
warm up. You're gonna be all right.
yeah, and I think too, people point to that era of change of all those world records, but I think the original fast skin came out in right around 2000. The Aqua Blade was the first time you saw guys wearing, and you didn't see it often in the Olympics. The women were wearing the neck to knees, or the short johns, as I think they used to call them. They used to wearing those in the 96 games. Most notably, Michelle Smith from Ireland wore it. I think Lin Lee from China, who was in the 200 IM with her. Most of the Americans were wearing the standard suit, but it was an Aquablade. It was a brand new. It was new technology. It was better than the paper suits. It was better. And I mean, I still have the picture when I was in shape of swim wearing the S2000 Gold, the zip up for the guys, the cat suit as we called it, and the girls were wearing it too. It just wasn't down. You didn't get the compression on the legs, but you had core compression. I wore it for backstroke. It was perfect. And there is one picture of it in a photo album buried way in the basement for that, and it will never be seen. But it was 2000 when you first saw the leg skins, when you were getting the ankle to hips and even all the way up to the shoulders for the guys. Because I think it was definitely 2004. Cleet Keller wore one. Phelps wore the leg skins. I think he wore leg skins in 2000 in Sydney. Malchow wore full body. And he was a great swimmer. I don't want to get attacked online for this one, because he was a phenomenal swimmer and former world record holder. But everybody forgets Ian Thorpe was wearing a full Diana all the way down to his wrist. He was wearing a full bodysuit when he was swimming in the late 90s, early 2000s. So when you want to throw an asterisk on the supersuit era, be careful what you wish for. Because if that's the case, we're going back to Mary T. Maher's world record in the 200 fly until now. So, man, but we grew up in the paper suit era, you and I, and then it went to the Aqua Blades, then the Faskins, and then Speedo changed the game with the laser, and it opened up so many doors for other companies to look at technology. And we see it even now. Arena with their newest suit. Speedo will undoubtedly drop a new one right before 2028.
It is that time coming up.
Oh yeah, if we don't see it this year, we'll definitely see something in 27. Hands down. You know that all the manufacturers will do that. Technology is just going to continue to evolve. Our training is going to continue to evolve. Our athletes are going to continue to evolve. And I think that's the operative word. I think in our sport right now, let's be real. When you and I swam, the reason why we were swimmers is because we could trip over our own shadows doing ball sports. Like whether it was soccer or football, swimmers were not known. They might be able to run too, because they had good cardio. But we were not known as baseball players or lacrosse or anything like that. You are seeing more athletes, kids who can do multiple sports, kids who are athletic and can do, and not just I play lacrosse, but I'm a swimmer. It's I need to choose between the two. You didn't see that very often. I still believe that kids should be doing multiple sports. I hate the specialization that has been taking place, especially for basketball. I think that's gotten ridiculous, but I think you're seeing more athletes in our sport than we've ever had. And because of their athleticism, the success in the sport is rising. And I'll be interested to see what the next technology or next wave is going to be in our sport. I think we're already kind of getting a glimpse of it with the whole, when we talked about it last week's show, Van Mathias and Cam McAvoy and what they're doing from a training standpoint. I think we're starting to get a glimpse of that, but it'll be very interesting. It seems like every 10 years, something hits hits us in the face.
Well, in the 80s, there was nobody videotaping your race.
No,
There's no way to watch your race back. That wasn't a thing. You had no
VCRs were
idea what it
tanks.
looked like swimming, you know,
Yeah.
you know? And now I think, that's one of the things I really preach to coaches, I'm like, "Hey, I'll teach you race analysis in 20 minutes," you know? Everybody's got an iPhone, everybody's got a camera. There's no videotaping of practices or what you're doing in practice or none of that stuff. And we probably weren't as visual learners as we are now
Agreed.
back then.
Agreed.
So there's that combo pack too, that, those worlds colliding that, in my mind, has huge ramifications on the sport in
I
a
think
positive way,
agreed.
innovation. And I think even, cool thing about swimming is, you know what? It's gonna be really hard for AI to, like, get in the water and swim for us.
Agreed. Agreed.
As gradually everything starts to get taken over by the machines. That's gonna be one that, I'm hopeful that we humans can hang on to. but yeah, it was wild times back then, but great, but like it yeah, just like anything else, that those records are there as a carrot.
Mhm.
This is the last story I'll tell. I vividly remember I was coaching high school and our team was good. We were fortunate enough to win a bunch of stuff and do a bunch of good stuff. But the Bowles School relay, they had like Ryan Murphy and Joe
Schooling.
School
Yep.
and Santa. I think Condarelli was on there,
Condarelli was on there as well, and I can't remember the 4th one. Yep.
but because Dressel was on the club team. But I saw, the Florida State meet used to be in November, or still is. It's in November, and I'm immediately clicking on Meet Mobile and looking at the results and seeing what we got to do. And I'm like, oh my god, these guys they went 128 in the 200 medley relay, and I just look at my coach. I'm like, my assistant coach. I'm like, who's going to break that? Who in the world, God's name, is going to break that? Well, fortunately, about 18 months later, a group of boys who I coached ended up breaking that, went 127, and that record stuck for, I think, 12 years, and then a whole slew of relays started doing it, and now it's 126 is the thing.
Yep.
There's multiple high school relays going 126s, so, it's just wild how things progress, and
Agreed.
it'll get harder and harder because you can't swim 0 flat, in a race. Every race takes some degree of time,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's this record onslaught is very exciting and a testament to all the innovation and the great coaching and the great athletes that are
Yes.
out there in the sport.
And I think you nailed it right there. The innovation and the coaching evolution that I think is going on right now. You've got a lot of young minds. They're very creative. They are a visual generation. They they've grew up on tablets and iPhones and or smartphones in general. I think the technology you're seeing, like, God, what's the one? Good grief, can't think of it. They're out of Canada. Oh, it's killing me right now because they used to blow me up when I was at Nevada trying to get us to come on board. But they were kind of the first when it came to stroke telemetry stuff coming back and information. Now there's a few others that are out there that'll allow our students, our athletes to get that better technology so they can see their stroke pattern. You can overlay with efficiency. I think you're also starting to see, at least at the Power Four level, you're not going to see it as much at the D2, D3, or mid major because of budgetary restrictions. But coaches are investing when they're hiring an assistant coach, they're hiring somebody who's got a technology background. They got somebody who's got a visual. I think UVA is probably the most notable right now with this one of the coaches they have. Cannot remember his name. I know there's a lot of Power Four conferences that would love to get Russell Mark on staff. Oh my! I've talked to 2 coaches already that if they could pay him enough, they'd get him away from USA Swimming and ASCA and all those guys and just get him on staff to do stroke and video analysis because that's what he is just famous for. But the library of information that kids can grab onto and coaches can grab onto to take a look at and say, all right, this is what we need to apply. It all comes down to one simple thing. Are you willing to evolve? Are you
Yeah, I mean,
willing to?
the funny thing, one of the things I love that Russell puts out is, and as technology improves, it's more of a breakdown of, the metrics of those who
Yes.
final at the NCAAs, those who console at the NCAAs. And I've literally said to folks, if this is your goal, then, unless you're kind of an alien or have some trait that's a complete outlier, it's pretty clear that if the goal is this certain time, you got to be swimming within these range of metrics. That's what you got to be racing at. So that's what we need to be training into you.
$100%.
I would say that that's the biggest change in coaching, and it's so exciting to me. Is that you really know the metrics of swimming fast now. You really know it. In the '80s, we had no idea how to just swim more. Just swim more yards faster, and probably you're going to get better. Then it was really that simple an equation. And now there's any number of metrics that you can click off and really pinpoint. Okay, this is a part of your race is awesome. This part of your race is tremendous. Here's the part that really is suffering, but we know what you got to get to be elite, and we can get, i- i- given the work, and if you've got some ability, you can get to that place. So it's Yeah, very, very exciting. That's why I like going on these podcasts. It's, just talking about fast swimming because it's only getting faster. And
Agreed.
and the
Agreed.
how, and the
Yep.
why, the story behind the story kinda thing.
Yep.
I always said if teachers and growing up would tell more kids the story behind the story in whatever subject they're teaching, kids wouldn't be bored to tears sometimes. They'd get more in it because oftentimes, there's some pretty funny stuff on how it ends up happening, and you end
But
up
yeah.
discovering these things.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm interested to see there's a lot of different companies that are out there. They're coming out with new stuff all the time. And like you said, the how and the why, how we need to get there and why we need to do it this way, or looking at the analysis of stroke length and man, as technology is getting smaller and getting easier for us to use, I think it's really important that we start embracing that side of it as coaches. As scary as it
You'll
is.
get left behind quickly if you don't.
Agreed.
It's really simple.
I know I talked with a friend of mine. He and I both are road cyclists. That's our background. I like going out on my road bike, and cycling has been big into power and heart rate monitoring. And it's easy for them because they're not in the water. So the technology, you get cross wiring easily if you get too many swimmers close to each other. But now you're seeing wearable heart rate monitoring systems, power outputs, or you're able to register those. I think EO is the company that's doing it. I saw their demonstration. A friend of mine got to do a beta testing on it, and he's got a kit for 25 swimmers. I was like, you lucky dog. You're so fortunate for that. These are the things that are going to help elevate our sport. And it really is. Back in the 80s and the 90s, it was swim harder, swim faster, you'll be faster. Now it's swim smarter and you'll absolutely be faster. And we're seeing that more and more in frame by frame breakdowns of people's starts, body alignments as they're going in and out of turns. The next one I can't wait to see is a way for us to evaluate power output, because you can put a power meter on a bike, that's easy. But to put an actual power meter of some kind, I think that's the next step for me. What they're okay, you're doing a dolphin kick off the wall. How much power are you generating? And there's very basic ways of calculating it without putting them in a lab with all these sensors around them. But when you can put a wearable power meter on a swimmer, when that happens, man, these world record 52 women's 100 butterfly is not going to be impossible. 4,700 men's fly is not going to be impossible. Once we can start measuring that information, it's just like in cycling. Cycling blew up with the power meter and heart rate monitoring and target zoning. When you're able to do that in swimming, man, anybody who's not on board, I hope I'm retired by then, because I'm struggling with technology. We all know how you and I both know how hard it is for me to get this damn podcast locked up. For good grief, man, I don't need any more technology. Hardware sucks. My sons tease me all the time, and because they know their dad's incompetent when it comes to technology, but it is definitely something we need to embrace more of in our sport. So
Absolutely. Or you'll get left behind.
agreed. Well, Coach, I think they're throwing us out of the warm down pool. As we mentioned, we got a lot of people lined up for the show. We got some special guests. We hope to be bringing them here shortly. Well, next week's episode, we kind of hinted we were going to talk about it this week. We're going to push it off. NCAA swimming, strangely enough, is right around the corner. Plus, we've got major championship meets on the horizon here in the U.S. and around the world. We'll keep recapping all of those. As always, my partner in crime, Dan Flack. It's been a pleasure as always, brother. And the coach is screaming to get out of the warm down pool.
Yeah, well, one last thing before we get out of the warm down pool. Hey, if you're out there and you want us to discuss a topic or you want us to bring somebody on, please hit us up. We're happy to do it. We're here to get the conversation started and get everybody's ears working relative to swimming, to keep pushing the thing forward, because it's a fun, very lifelong pursuit. It's something, swimming is one of the few things that you could do your whole life.
Absolutely.
So if you got somebody or something you want us to talk about or somebody to talk to, hit us up and we'll gladly do it.
We're on Facebook and Instagram, and occasionally I get things up on Twitter. I always forget we have one of those, but definitely hit us up on social media. We'll be posting in a couple of the Facebook groups that we're members of.
We got threads now. We do.
We do. We have
We do.
We have threads. We have
True
threads
story.
now.
I did that this week.
Dan got us on threads. We're good to go. But yeah, definitely we'll be coming up with topics throughout the course of the upcoming year. We definitely want to talk NCAA swimming as it's on the horizon, and we're going to get as many guests as we can on here so we can just shoot the breeze of all about the sport we love the most. So for Eric Skelly, Dan Flack, Warm Down Pool, signing off.
Have a good one.